Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next interview. I'm excited about having our guest today because we're going to be talking about the investment side of building a business. When we all think about our dreams, when we think about the idea of going into business and starting a vegan business, there's often a period where we all think about, well, where's the money going to come from? How do we build the investment side, or how do we raise capital to really fulfill our dreams? And there's a lot of different ways to do it and a lot of different kind of options out there. And what I want to do today is kind of talk about what Mark has developed for our world and our community. And when I say there are a lot of different options, in the traditional space, there's a lot of ways that people have done funding before. But what we're starting to see now is more vegans bring investment opportunities to our communities. More vegans step up with creative ways to help bring investment to our community. And for some of you out there that are maybe not in the investment track at this point, what I'm really hoping we dive into with our guest today, Mark, is talk about how us as individuals can be a part of that investment process, how us as individuals can potentially take our dollars and vote with our dollars, and therefore invest in companies and businesses that we hope to succeed. So those are some of the things we're going to cover today, but I'm sure Mark has even more with his extensive background on the topic. So first, let me welcome our guest. Mark, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And let's give everyone a little bit of spice, a little bit of intro understanding. I mean, I talked about, what you do from my perspective, maybe outside looking in, but maybe you can give us kind of the insider's view of Vegan Launch and what was kind of your vision and what was your kind of, I guess they say, North Star, or what guided you to start this?
Well, I've been a lifetime activist, actually. I started as an environmental activist at age 10 in 1970 with the first Earth Day. And
Love it.
I had this vision by the time I was 20 that to solve the problems of the world, we needed to have businesses that did those directly. The charities were somehow limited in their ability to transform the society. And I started my first environmental business when I was 23. It was a water and energy conservation business that worked pretty well. But along the way, I saw that government policies would affect how much profit people in my similar business were making in different parts of the country. So I got interested in policy. I ended up in Washington, D.C., co-founded a national environmental group, and we did a lot of good. It was hard as hell. And then what I really realized is that finance is the right platform for a social organizer or environmentalist, because movements create markets. And this is what we're really, so it was really in 2021, I started on this path to create an ecological investment fund. I hadn't gone vegan yet. And that was really hard. It didn't really work. I spent 10 years failing. I learned a lot about how to fail, all the different ways. So that makes me a very good mentor. And then I took 5 years off, and by 2016, I went vegan, and then the US finance laws changed. What most people don't realize is that free speech in the area of fundraising for capital was basically prohibited in 1933 with the Securities Act. So we've had almost a 90-year period where people have no idea how capitalism works, and entrepreneurs had no real legitimate path to raising capital unless they already had pre-existing relationships with wealthy individuals called accredited investors. So that's made it very difficult to capitalize any business, much less a purpose-driven business like most vegans. So the same year I went vegan, these laws changed, and I was just, after being vegan for a year, my head just got really clear, and my health was coming back and my energy. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this because I'm able to do now what I attempted to do in the 2000s. I need about 5 million to do what we're doing now on just a real shoestring, being able to communicate publicly to the general public. So you can say our goal with Vegan Launch is to use finance as a mass education platform, kind of like McDonald's. They use the burger, their marketing around burgers taught us how to eat junk food, right? They created a whole culture that way. And we have individual vegan companies that are trying to do the same thing now in whatever their business model is, but they all need funding. So our idea is we fund all the vegan companies we can. They go out and through their marketing, they educate the world about all the benefits of being a vegan and the vegan ethical framework. And then our marketing of these investment products is also our opportunity to mass educate people as well. So that is the whole thesis. And I'm glad to say it's working. We have our first public investment product up at our site, veganlaunch.com. And a person can invest as little as $100 in this lovely company. They make a plant-based solution for the collagen crisis. Collagen is just, animal skin and bones, waste product full of antibiotics and other garbage you wouldn't dare put in your body if you knew what was in it. Ground up, packaged nice. And people think this is a health food. It's not, but I've been using the New Earth Beauties products, and my face is really changing. It really does improve your own body's skin tone and collagen elasticity. And so I'm both a proud believer, and we're promoting her business via our first live public offer on our website.
Wonderful. I mean, it's great to hear about that, hear about the brand, hear about the work, and also hear about the success. I think a lot of times when we talk with businesses, everyone has the idea, but it's wonderful when you're able to kind of talk about how you've translated that idea into something that not only is helping other brands, but also is a fulfillment of your actual vision that you have now, and also that started when you were planning to do something back in the 2000s. So let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's talk about the process, especially from a business standpoint. If I had a business, I was starting a business, when should I approach or work with Vegan Launch? What is the ideal company that you work with or stage that those companies are in?
Well, first of all, a lot of vegan entrepreneurs try to raise capital from vegan venture capital funds. The problem is vegan venture capital funds are typically very selective. They want later stage companies that already have some traction. Traction is the golden key for an entrepreneur. And then so we don't do generic business coaching. There are certainly plenty of companies that you can bootstrap and have a nice lifestyle. So we're focused on entrepreneurs that want to create a scalable business, and it's very difficult to scale without capital. Now, most of the companies that come into our platform we have a free mentoring program. They come in and they have some kind of traction. They have some sales, some evidence, and there's a lot of forms of traction. I don't think we should go too deep into that. Some entrepreneurs have the mistaken thinking that if you want to start a company, first you raise capital. That's very hard. I have done that, but it's not really, it's better to come up with traction. So like with Vegan Launch itself, when we started in April 2018, all I did, I put up a 2-page website. I just wanted to see if I get people to sign up for the idea. So I tested in little increments before, I didn't try to raise capital really until we had proven that we had a financially successful business model. And then, I financed it with credit cards and bank loans and whatever cash I had. Lifetime as an entrepreneur, an environmental entrepreneur, I wasn't like, a whole lot of money in the bank, but I put everything I had into it. The other thing is also commitment. But I would say that if a company's got some sales, and there are ways, again, to get ready, but the main thing I'll say, the lesson for entrepreneurs is you want to start thinking like an investor from the beginning. Whether you're bootstrapping or whether you think you're going to raise capital, understanding how an investor looks at your company will help you make good decisions, because you're building an asset value. Your company is an asset, and your ability to raise capital is really about how you tell the story of your company as an asset with appreciating value to investors. So that's the nut of what I teach people in the mentoring program, how to properly evaluate value and start looking at their company from the point of view as an investor.
Now, do most people come to you kind of saying, this is where my business is, I need help trying to figure out what's next? Or are you really working with people at the stage that they've said, okay, I am ready to scale. I am ready, meaning, like you said, I've gotten some customers, you know what I mean? I've started with my initial process. I did some bootstrapping, you know what I mean? My garage is full of inventory that I'm turning over, every 14 to 30 days, but it is the garage.
I don't remember telling you about all the entrepreneurs we've been working with, but yeah, that's pretty much it. They come, they're ready to scale. Generally, we have a little thing on our intake form. What's your experience in raising capital? And the drop-down list, the first one is, I have no idea how to raise capital. That's most people in the planet really have no idea how finance and capital works. But yeah, they've got some, generally some kind of sales or some kind of, like I said, with our business, the first traction was, can we build an email list? People come to me and say, I want to start a vegan restaurant. I say, create a free email list on MailChimp and start talking to people and ask them if they would be willing to just put their name on an email list and follow your progress. Those are going to be your first investors. And whether somebody takes that advice or not pretty much indicates whether they're going to succeed or not. Because you do want to start thinking about investor relations almost from day one. It's not like, oh, I've got a company now, I need money. It's not about I need money. It's about when you're raising capital, you are creating an investment product that's different than your original product and service, and designing that investment product. And then there's a market for that investment product. And so what Vegan Launch does is we bring all the vegan investors we can into one platform. Now, each of them, they're in different countries. They have different tastes. Some of them are wealthier than others. So the laws apply differently because of these crazy laws that we still have on the books. But inside all vegan investors, there is a market for your investment product. The hard part about raising capital is it's another product you got to sell. It's a totally different conversation than selling your goods or services. And but you've got to master at least a minor degree of that for the money to flow in so you can scale. Otherwise, you'll be bootstrapping the rest of your life.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think people see it as kind of like, I just need to put a deck together. I need to put a presentation together. And therefore I get in front of the right people in the room. It'll just happen. And I really love how you framed it as, you almost developed another product that needs its own marketing. It needs its own kind of support system. And you have to develop that product so that investment product and the assets in your business, so that they are appealing to investors and so forth. So I'm glad you touched on that, because I hope people, or anyone who's even listening today and thinking about it, that they're really starting to understand that if you're going down the path of getting investors, that there is a process to it and a commitment level to it. It's not just, can I just find someone that happens to have a checkbook?
Yeah, the commitment is a really big thing. To be very honest, especially at the beginning, pretty much all of the investors in Vegan Launch itself, in operations, they asked me if they could invest in the company, which made it a little easier. And then there's that thought. It's like, when you take somebody's money, now you're creating it's a much longer term relationship than your product or service, because if you sell somebody some vegan shoes, they get the shoes. That transaction is complete. But an investor, it's a long-term relationship. And I really, in the beginning, each new check I tested is like, do I really want to do this? Like, how committed am I? So the level of commitment drives your ability to raise money. The other thing is, what does the market size look like? And what is the driving growth factor? What is it about your company that can allow it to scale into a scalable market? So, but the commitment is key, and you will be tested if you've never raised capital, because suddenly somebody writes you a check for $50,000 or $100,000. It's like, oh no, I've got to do something now. I can't just goof off, right? A lot of people want to. It's called lifestyle businesses. Investors don't. Yeah. I love lifestyle businesses. They're great because the money comes in and you don't have to work unless you feel like it.
Yes.
When you've got other people's money, you have that sense of duty to them. And sometimes
they're your other customer, in a sense. They're almost your new customer to support
right,
and continue that relationship.
Customer relationships, writing those quarterly reports, even if it's just a page, helping them stay abreast, and because they'll bring other investors in if they like you as well, if they can. It's a really great thing, but it's that commitment to scalability. And sometimes, balancing lifestyle and that commitment can be a challenge for anybody. Whether, on the one hand, it's like you start a business and there's not enough money, that sucks. Then the money comes in and you're still working all the time anyway. But at a certain point, like we have a nice little staff now, the work is starting to get distributed. And it's still the most beautiful thing. And all, like I said, I started my first business in 1983 and I love this business. Like I knew when I started that I never want to stop. I want to live to be 100 and really see this through. I want to see the world change this way. And I think it's possible. And I know it's possible. I mean, we've identified $12 trillion of vegan investment opportunities. There's no end to what can be transformed. And there's trillions of dollars as well. Vegans hold $3 trillion of publicly traded stock. I mean, there's no money shortage. What's happened is these rules and regulations that evolved after the Depression have made it very difficult for investors and founders to find each other. We're solving that. Now vegan investors and vegan founders, and there's at least 2,000 vegan businesses trying to raise capital. Our job is to come up with a process, like we're trying to grind through that backlog and get them funded. They're all human beings, but it really is a process that we're developing for speed because each one of those people holds a solution that's going to really affect the outcome of the planet and, of course, animals' lives.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about kind of how either you've been impacted a little bit or any of your clients or your vision, because, the world has kind of changed so much in the last year and a half. That have you felt that investors have pivoted, changed? Are they more sensitive, more aggressive because of everything that's going on kind of in our post-pandemic, I guess, world we're in today? Or do you feel like, not much has changed because most people are still looking at that long-term vision? They're still looking at the possibility of where things are going.
Well, I think when you talk about most investors, you're kind of treading on thin ice. I would say that the massive stock market gains that have happened broadly since COVID and the Federal Reserve just pumping trillions of dollars of price supports have made a handful of people very wealthy. Now some air is coming out of the balloon, and now those same people, I think, if you haven't been through up and down cycles like that, that can make you kind of now fearful. And there's really, the vegan investor has a vegan investment thesis, and most of the people who are doing well on whether it's Wall Street or with crypto, they have a long-term thesis. They don't get overly excited when it goes up, and they don't freak out when it goes down because they're looking at the long term. So I say when it comes to long-term investors, vegan investing is probably stronger than ever, and it's just going to keep going because there's just almost no opportunities to invest that way on Wall Street. Another massive trend is what we call the liquidity tidal wave. And I did a video on that on our own YouTube channel. So until recently, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ have had a monopoly on liquidity, which means if a company was founded, they couldn't trade their shares anywhere until they either went public or merged. And this has created a very sick phenomenon where essentially plant-based companies are merging with gigantic meat conglomerates just to get their next check. And this is a very unfortunate situation because it mutes the movement and the trend toward transformation. But anyway, so now with these new laws and financial technology, fintech is a massive exploding tech division of tech. And
just break down fintech for my listeners.
Well, fintech means financial technology. So if we think back to when Amazon got started, we put up I did my first website in 1995, and trying to collect money over the web was almost impossible.
Nightmare.
Yeah. And Amazon spent like $100 million trying to figure it out. And that's why they're, number one. Now, anybody with, $3.50 to run, some kind of a cheap website can plug and play and be up tomorrow with better financial technology than Amazon paid $100 million for free. So with financial transactions, that's come a little slower. But now, like, for example, I can't say everything we're doing, but let's just say there are websites now where you can start a venture capital fund for free. Now, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees in the 2000s trying to boot up this ecological venture capital fund. Now it's free. And the management, the back end, it's like, this is a trend. Vegan Launch uses financial technology to facilitate these little $100 or more investment transactions. So what else is happening? There's something called secondary markets, and more liquidity is happening upstream from the NASDAQ. This is opening up a huge opportunity for creativity, because now the lack of liquidity is one of the major risks for investors. The more liquidity in the market, the more we'll be able to engage with the broad investor market. I mean, the global stock market is $100 trillion. Environmentalists control 30 trillion. Vegans as a sub niche of that are 3 trillion. There's just money sloshing around looking for value. As vegan values grow, especially with Gen Z and millennials, my vision for Vegan Launch is that Gen Z and millennials will be able to both start and fund their own businesses from their cohorts, and not wait for boomers like me to say it's okay, or decide whether or not they deserve money. That's the position I was when I was their age. I couldn't find capital. I had a great business. I had no clue. The bank said no. I didn't know why. I didn't know where the money was. I just knew I had a great idea, and I just bootstrapped for 7 years. And bootstrapping sucks. It's unless you have, like an ebook business and a lifestyle business. But I was very dissatisfied at even though it was a successful company, I could not scale it to anywhere near the potential I saw.
Yeah, and that's the challenge.
These are huge trends. These are huge trends, and more investors are moving into these micro assets. It's a great time to be doing what we're doing. I can't believe it's happening, because I almost gave up completely until the laws changed. Yeah.
We're so glad you didn't give up, because this really does create just so much opportunity, for businesses. And, I'm passionate about that, but also for, just our community at large and the movement itself. So I just wanted to break down for our listeners the idea that, you're taking investments on as little as $100, correct?
Yeah.
So the idea is that anyone could be an investor, in some of these vegan companies. Is that fair for me to say?
Yeah.
At least that's how I read it on the website. Okay.
Yes. I mean, we're a few. So right now, in the deal that we have up, any U.S. investor, any U.S. person can invest as little as $100. And then, sadly, the U.S. laws, and the next largest market is the EU. And our laws do not integrate with their laws. In fact, the EU's laws, they're working on it, but they don't even integrate country to country. So some countries prohibit, in Canada, for example, they prohibit their citizens. You can invest in Canada on the NASDAQ, but you can't. Each province has rules preventing Canadian citizens from investing in U.S. regulation, crowdfunding offers, and other public offers, and these small new public offers. So, but accredited investors can. I mean, we don't market directly to those countries, but if they happen to find our website. So that means if you're wealthy, you're what's called accredited investor, a millionaire, or you're making $200,000 a year individually, or 300 as a couple, anywhere in the world, pretty much you can invest, or any U.S. investor. So getting that last quadrant, non-U.S., non-accredited, really just to get that done, because there's crowdfunding all over the world now. Throughout the EU, UK, Canada, even places like Thailand and Japan, they're all coming in with so it's just a matter of building out relationships, legal and technology in each country, and then organizing the offers. But, there's no shortage of opportunities. It's really, by 2022, my goals at Vegan Launch is a presence in every country where there's vegan investors, that there'll be, that they'll all have a way to participate somehow in this vegan economic movement. And, it's so important to me because, again, the movement has created this market, but then you get a company like Tyson Meats, they're making money off the vegan ethic. They have their own plant-based, meat alternative. So good for them for doing that. But that whole economic activity grew from veganism. There would be no plant-based meat if there were no vegans.
Yes.
Then they just announced they're opening a new chicken slaughterhouse. So they're taking money from the energy that was created by the vegan movement, investing it in animal cruelty, and at the same time, their lobbying groups attack vegans. And I saw this in the organic food movement. I saw this in the environmental movement and the economy that was trying to grow from that. And the solution for me is that vegans have to move into finance. We soon, by the end of this year, we'll be training anybody who wants to learn how to be what I call a citizen financier, because we need hundreds of people doing what I do on our platform, solving giant world problems that are all of them. When you really look at almost every problem in the world, whether it's pollution or war, somewhere at the bottom of the stack is our relationship to animals. And as that changes, I believe we can create a peaceful world. Vegan Launch is a peace-based approach to solving world problems, but it requires us to be responsible for something a lot of us would rather not do, which is managing billions and even trillions of dollars, like the big guys, but there's enough. We need to be the big guys now. We need
to be the big guys in the room and at the table as well.
Yeah. We're not the victims. Vegans have $3 trillion. We're not the victim. The animals are the victims for sure, but we're not victims. It's just a question of, can we get together, work together, organize, and use that massive financial potential for good. And so Vegan Launch is really a financial organizing platform to get people, let's work together. Let's solve the problems we all want to solve. We all know we want to solve it. We've all got the money if we work together.
I love that. And it's just so people, if they want to get in touch, if they want to reach out to you, if they want to just learn more, what is the best way to get in touch? Your website, social media, email, or all of the above?
Well, the best place to start is veganlaunch.com. From there, you'll see links to your preferred social media platform. We post almost every week on our LinkedIn and Facebook business pages. We're posting, YouTube videos typically every week. We have a podcast, the Vegan Launch podcast. And so there's a lot of ways to get this. And it's a big field. It took me about almost 20 years to learn what I'm doing, and a lot of experience before that, so I'm not a boomer. Excuse me, I am a boomer. I am a boomer. I'm not a millennial. I'm not a Zoomer. My kids tell me I'm a boomer, so I guess I'm a boomer, but I don't think like one.
Okay.
But what's my point there? My goal is to compress that learning curve. If you go to our YouTube channel or our podcast, you will learn stuff there that took me years and years to learn and condense, so that you can just become a powerful either investor, a powerful entrepreneur, or even a financial leader in a matter of days of binge watching if you want. So that's my recommendation for people. Just sign up and get started. Sign up, check out the offer. Right now we're doing something called testing the waters. This is a whole new law that only went into effect. That means you can pledge a certain amount of money without even actually spending it. And this is how all the big guys do finance. They don't just spend zillions on lawyers and then try to find out whether anybody cares. They check with their investors. This is what investment bankers do. They call all of their investors and say, hey, we got a deal. Is there enough interest? If so, let's get together and do it. And right now, our first deal for New Earth Beauty, you can go there right now and just express your interest without even putting any money in. And if there's enough interest, that'll demonstrate that our marketing works, and then we'll spend the money to really market the thing and raise the $1 million we want to raise for the company.
I love that. I always love it when we test the demand, test the interest, and we really make sure we understand, is there a community, is there a group, are there people really in support of it, and going from there. So I love that you're using that model in the investment space, because I think it's a core and very strong model really for that entrepreneurs should be thinking about in general. So I love that you're doing it in the investment space. Now, I noticed the time. I kept you a little longer than usual, but I wanted to just maybe ask before we kind of wrap up if there's any recommendations for people as they prepare for this process? I know we were talking before we started the interview about the books and the numbers. And for a lot of people, it's an intimidating place for them to be. It's very hard to manage it. Maybe they just don't have the background, or maybe they just had a horror story, something that happened. And it shies them away from it. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on what people should be doing and maybe how you can help them so that they are mentally prepared from a financial standpoint, but also their books and their businesses are prepared to go on this investment journey.
Okay, so money is a story. Money is basically a conversation among humans. No other animal has money. And it's just kind of endemic. It's sprout up around the world independently. So money is words, and then investing are more complicated stories around the meta story, which we call money. So when you want to raise capital, you're going to tell two stories to your investor. One is the story in words, like where you're doing, what your vision is. That inspires them in one way. And then your books, profit and loss, there's three sets of books: profit and loss, cash flow, and balance sheet. And those tell a story in words. And a good investor can look at those numbers and just really see a lot about you from that, for better or worse. But, it's okay because it's something to work with, It's not, people are not, a good investor is looking for a reason to help you win, not a reason to say no. So why do we not do books? Because it doesn't feel like it's making money. Often we're very heart-centric people as vegans. Books are a little more kind of, I don't know, it's math class. And so can you do math to the third grade level? How are you with your percentages? If you can do third grade math and you know your percentage is cold, you can raise $1 billion. You can operate that. You might need to learn a few more tricks, but that's about it. It's not that hard. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many dumb people making billions of dollars. You don't have to be that smart. So then if you haven't done this, open a separate bank account. Nobody gets any money if they don't have a separate bank account for their business. In most parts of the US, you get a free business checking account as well. That's nicer. Don't pay any fees. If it's got to be a personal account, I don't care. But just day one, you should open a free separate bank account for your business, no matter what you do. Otherwise, the energy is not aligned. And this is what I call integrity. When you bring the alignment around from the bank account, and for me, getting integrity with money has been a lot of things, because like my dad, he would spend all year complaining about the IRS. And I used to think the IRS is out to get me. And then finally, I had to do some stuff with the IRS, and I had to resolve all that sadness because he used it as a way of hiding from whatever other, depression and World War II issues were jangling around in his head. I thought the IRS was keeping it from me personally. So we all have money is a place. Most people have some weird relationship, whether sex, money, or food, right? Those are sort of the three gateways of screwing up our heads. And use this as an opportunity to make peace with money. We can, this is really about love and love healing. And anywhere there's not love, if you can't love money, it's like saying, well, I can't love electricity, or I don't love lightning or something like that. It makes no sense. It's just a human energy that's expressed with these little tokens we call dollars. And that's why we freak out, because people do use money to dominate other people, but they're dominating first. It's not money's fault. There have been bad people in every money situation, Genghis Khan, the Tsar of Russia. Every financial system has had its evil people. And that isn't a reason why we, as peace-loving, compassionate people, can't use money in a peace-loving way. And the more you discover, the more you'll find is there's a lot of people who make a lot of money without abusing people, who care about the planet. And whether a person is good or bad has nothing to do with money per se. It just has to do with where they are on their journey, shall we say.
Yeah. And I like that idea of making peace with money and getting comfortable with it, because I teach a lot of people the idea that, there's power in being able to bring money into the vegan ecosystem. There's power in hiring other vegans and employing them so that their careers are aligned. And I think sometimes when I just have those discussions with people, it opens their mind to a different relationship with money and the possibilities that if you're making money in your business, you can donate to your animal sanctuaries. You can support legislative that's helping get, plant-based labels, on products, things like that. It can really be an empowerment if we really kind of change our relationship with money.
Yeah, it's really a lovely path. And then that you've healed in a way your relationship with money when you've got your books done at least once a month. And when I made that policy for myself, it's like every 10 days, I mark it on my calendar as like a vacation day where I do financial integrity. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I would much rather be selling or doing anything else that's more interesting. But once I put that in place and got my books really impeccable, literally money started pouring in without me even asking. And that's a much longer story. We're not going to cover that, but it's really true.
But another day.
Well, it's about being ready to receive. If you want to raise capital, you need to be ready to receive, and that's really the essence of our teaching. And again, there's a lot of videos on our YouTube channel about how to get ready to receive money. And it's not so much, sure, there's some people go out and grab it if they can do that. I don't know. That's just not my way. My way is being receptive and making a nice home for that money in your bank account, And because people want to give you, the investors want you to succeed. They've got spare cash. That's why they're investors. They got more money than they need. And they want to use that money for the maximum good. And if you're a vegan entrepreneur, you've got the key to their fulfillment. And, understand that you're a very important person to these investors. And there's no scarcity. There's 4 million vegan investors on the planet. If you can't find your own, it's just, it's hard to find, but they're there. And that's why Vegan Launch is here, to make that finding process much easier. That's really our mission, is to just get as many of those people working together. So the entrepreneurs, we don't want you to be on your own. We don't want you to have to do everything alone. That's slowing everything down.
Yeah, and it's slowing our progress down and slowing the ability to get many entrepreneurs out there, their great products and services out to their community. So
I love the entrepreneurs. They're so fun. I just love working with them, and it's a great honor to do this work with them.
I actually agree wholeheartedly with that. So, Mark, I've given you a little bit extra time today. I just wanted to say thanks for hanging out with me a little bit longer than I normally do my interviews, but I love the kind of areas that we were able to get into to not only talk about the opportunity, talk about relationships with money, and help people hopefully get a little bit more comfortable with that, and also maybe nudge some people along and hope that people are getting to the point where they're going to maybe make that commitment to make sure that their financial integrity is intact and they're looking at their books on a monthly basis. So this might be a challenge for some of the people out there today that are listening. But we just want you to obviously get started. But definitely, if anyone takes that challenge, let me know. I would love to know. You can always pop it into the comments, and I will let Mark know that you've taken on that challenge as well. But I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who's watched us live, anyone who has watched us even as a replay. If you have any questions for myself or for Mark, you can always post them in the comments. But more importantly, jump over to Vegan Launch. Check out their website, really reach out to the team, and check out those YouTube videos that Mark was talking about so you can get the education and also get an understanding of where the opportunity is. So if you're looking for investments or investors, you can get that connection going. Or if you're thinking about investing, you can connect with Vegan Launch and really start that process. Anything else you want to share with our audience before we wrap up today, Mark?
No, I just want to, I could talk for hours, but I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to say what we talked about today. And I really appreciate the work you're doing, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. And thank you, everyone who has watched us today and joined us today. And we wish everyone well. And I hope you all check out Vegan Launch. Bye, everyone.